awesome farmers. I'm Farmer Edge, and welcome to another Judith Plains guide. Today, we're going to do auto drive lanes. Now, we've done some auto drive and cosplay courses in the past, but today we're going to concentrate on how to create lanes. So let me jump into the tractor over here, and as you can see, we're on a course, well, just a bit of flat land, so I can show you some of the different courses. So you can see we have point A over here and point B in the at the other end of the field. So just to get to the HUD, so we have the HUD over here at the bottom, and I have made the HUD a lot bigger just so that hopefully you can see it quite nicely in the video. This triangle at the bottom here is what switches on and off edit mode. So if I click on it, auto drive goes away. It doesn't mean that your vehicle cannot go on a course. If there was a course linking A and B here, and you clicked on right now, the vehicle would still travel the auto drive course. This is just for you to activate edit mode. So if you click on it again and it highlights, it's now in edit mode. You do have the settings wheel over here, so I'm not going to spend too much time in here, but if we go to this face over here, you can set that GUI, the GUI auto drive HUD, and as you can see, I've got it now set to 200%. So that's why the auto drive HUD is so big. And then the other thing that we'll be using quite a bit of throughout, we've got above tractor and you have below tractor line height. So if you didn't notice, but I will set it, let me just leave it back on above tractor and just go back out again. So as you can see now, the waypoints and the lanes are above the tractor height. So it's nice for when you are recording and you are driving the lane for it to spawn like this, because then you can actually see the point. It spawns underneath the tractor, and then it's difficult for you to actually see that point. So I'll go back in there again and then just set it to below ground level and then just hit apply. And every time you do sort of a change in the settings, auto drive will disappear, and then just hit the edit mode triangle over here, and now you can see it's on the ground. So this you will see later on where I use it and where I don't, where it's above, where it's below. I just wanted to get that out of the way in the beginning now, so when I'm changing it in the video, you know what I am doing with that. Then if we just go back in again, you can also scale the thickness of the line. So I've got it at 300% just so you can see the lines quite nicely, and the destination names up to 200% there as well. I think on the settings over here, I don't think there's anything we really have to worry about for this video. So I'm just going to go apply again. Okay, so right now it's on the ground. Let me go and just put it back up above tractor, and then again just switch on. So the first thing I am going to show you is how to create all the different lanes just by clicking your left mouse button. So you can create lanes in two different ways. You can either just click your mouse button wherever you want it and join up the lanes, or you can actually drive the route. So we're going to do both. Now there are 4 different forward lanes and 1 reverse lane. So if you want to create just a standard, the first standard primary one-way lane, you just hold down your left control and then left click your mouse button. See, it's created a waypoint, and if I click just in front of it again, and in front and in front, and I can click to the left, the right, or sorry, right, left, whichever way, right? So you can see now I've just created a path, and this is a one-way path because you can see the arrows on it. It's showing you in which direction this path is going. Now I can do the path in the other direction, so I just hold left control, left click, left click, left click, left click, left click, and I can join that up as well. Let's say and now I've created a path in the opposite direction. If you want to create a two-way path, you're going to hold down Control, Shift, and it's Control Alt. So let me just Control Alt, click, left click, left click, left click, left click. I can do as many as I want. This is a two-way path. So vehicles can drive on this path in any direction. So one-way path, two-way path. These are the 2 primary paths. The other 2 lanes that you can create are called secondary paths. So for these, you're going to press Control Shift, left click, left click. So Control Shift, and then just hold down Control Shift, left Control, left Shift, and then just left click the whole way and create the path. Now, as you can see, this path also has an arrow in it, just as this one, but this is a secondary path. Now, I will explain just now the difference between primary and secondary paths. And the same thing with the two-way. There is a primary version and a secondary version. As I said, 4 of them. So to create the secondary version of a two-way path, you just hold down Control, Alt, and Shift, left Control, left Shift, and Alt, and then just click, 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 click. Just left click the whole way. And you can see it's now created a two-way secondary path. So these are the 4 main forward, if you want to call it. Your vehicles will drive forward on these paths. They're not going to reverse on these kinds of paths. For you to create a reverse path, you would need to create some waypoints for yourself first. So what you can do is, if you hold down left Control and you click a point, so you've created yourself a point. If I create another point now, it's going to try to join that up. So I could probably maybe click a point down here and maybe click a point over there. Oh, you see, it's joined that path the whole way there. So what I'm trying to do now is just create, and you see it's always trying to join up all these buttons, right? But I only want the actual waypoints. I don't want the lanes in between, because I want to create a reverse path. So what I'm going to do now is delete the lane in between the 2 waypoints. So what you want to do when you do that is you want to go in the same direction as what the arrow is facing. So if you look at this arrow, it's facing that way. So this would be first waypoint, second waypoint. So you're going to left click on the first waypoint, and then you left click on the second waypoint, and it disappears. So again, here, this long one here, again, you're going in the direction of the arrow. So the arrow is facing in that direction. So this is first waypoint, left click, second waypoint, left click, and it disappears. If by accidentally you don't do it in the right way and you by accident click on the second waypoint, so left click, and you click on the first waypoint, so the other way around, it now changes it to a 2-way lane. But that's not a problem. You can always change this back to a single lane again. So you can just left click on one of the waypoints again, left click on the other waypoint, and it gives you a 1-way lane again. And then to delete a 1-way, you just left click on its first point. So basically then run your mouse along the lane and get to the second point, left click, it's gone. Again, just to show you how to change these lanes. So this lane is going here from right to left. If I wanted this lane to go from left to right, I would need to first change it into a double lane. So if I went from first waypoint behind it to there, it would delete it. If I come in the opposite direction, so from the second waypoint, and I go against the arrow and click there, it now turns it into a 2-way lane. Now if I wanted to turn this into a lane that now went from left to right, you always start in the direction of the way you want the lane to go. So I want this lane to go to the right. So you click on the right side waypoint first, and then you click on the left. And then it gives you a pathway going to the right. Yes, I know it's a lot of detail and a lot of points, but you can watch it over and just see all the different things. So for this exercise, I want to delete this again. So I need to follow the direction of the arrow. So left click, follow the direction of the arrow, left click, and it's gone. Now, when a waypoint has this X above it, that means that it's not connected to anything. So now what I can do here is I can move these waypoints around. So all you need to do is right click on the waypoint and then drag it to wherever you want. So if you look, I right click on it, and I can now hold down the right click and you move it around to wherever you need it to be. So I'm going to move all these points just in a line over here for myself, and I'll put one over there. Just move it back. Okay, so I've got all these points over here that this is where I've decided now I want to create a lane. And now I want to create that reverse lane. So what you're going to do is you're going to left click on the point. Now I want to create the reverse in this direction there, coming from the top down. So I've left click on that one. Then you hold down right shift and left click. So you see now it's created this light blue line. If I just zoom in a little bit, it's a light blue line. So the light blue line, that's reverse. Dark blue line is a two-way primary lane. So again, left click on the first waypoint, hold down your right shift and left click on the second waypoint. Left click, right shift, left click, left click, right shift, left click, left click, right shift, left click. So now I've created a reverse lane. So these are the 5 lanes that you can get: 4 forward, 1 reverse. And what you can do here now is you can move these waypoints. Let's say the road went a different way, when you want to do reverse. Same thing again, as I said. If you just right click on the waypoint and hold down right click, you can move any point to wherever you want. So I can now move this in any direction I want. Same thing over here. I can move that point. I can move that point. I can move that point. So just right click and move the points around and it will be fine. It'll move it wherever you need it to be. If you now want to manually connect, now let's say these were your lanes, but they're not connected to the primary lane over here. So I want this tractor to be able to go from here and join into this road network over here. So you left click and left click. That creates a one-way path in the direction that you left click. First waypoint, second waypoint. If you want to create a secondary path like this one here, because that one is a primary, you can also do that. So you can just go left click again and left click again. Because it's connecting to a secondary route, it'll automatically change this into a secondary route. So now for all intents and purposes, this tractor could drive down this road and go into this network. I know it's a bit wonky, but it would be able to get in there and drive along this point if I put a endpoint over there, a target. And it would be able to go on the secondary route and do that loop as well. So the same thing with this two-way path. If I just left click and left click here, you see it's going to give me a one-way path. So I don't want a one-way path because I want vehicles to be able to go in this path and come back out of these paths, right? So when you've left clicked something, you can see it changes to green like this. You look here, it's green. And if you want to deselect, because now it's selected. So if you see wherever I go now, it's trying to connect. Okay, but now I don't want that because I want to change this. So you just left click it again and now it's deselected. So now you can see nothing's trying to connect. So what you do now is you hold down left control, alt, and left alt. And then you click on your first waypoint, left click, and you see it's created a two-way connection. So control alt, left click, left click. Same thing with this two-way path over here, the secondary one. You can hold control alt, left click, and connect it there, left click, and you can see it's created a secondary. Because it's now connecting to a secondary, it automatically changes that to a secondary. And that is the primary. And you can also now obviously connect this reverse route to here. If you wanted to, you can go, what was that again? There's so many keybinds over here. I forget my own keybind. So left click, hold down the right shift and left click. And there's the reverse path connected to that. Okay. So let me just think what's next. If you want to change something from a primary to a secondary, let's say you've got these created here. You don't have to go and delete them and recreate them. Because let's say I actually want this to be a primary two-way path. All you have to do is left shift and click on the waypoint. And click on the waypoint. So just hold down left shift and you can keep clicking on the waypoints. And you see it's now changing it from a secondary into a primary route. And then when you're done, you just let go of left shift. The same thing with a primary into a secondary. So hold down left shift and then just left click, left click, left click. And you see I can change this whole path now into the secondary path. So now that one's primary, this one is secondary. The same thing with the one-way paths. You just hold down the left shift, left, left click, left, left, left. And you can see now that is a secondary, that one's still a primary. And I can change this one to a primary if I wanted. So left shift and left click the whole way. As many nodes as you want to change. I mean, I can go just to there. So that is a primary, and then it turns into a secondary. So just hold down the left shift and click on the mouse button, and it'll change it from primary to secondary. So I think for creating, and I think maybe the last thing I just need to show you is deleting. So you've created all these things and you're like, I don't actually want some of these over here. So simplicity over here, you just hold down left alt and then just left click. And you just click on the waypoints you want to delete and it'll delete all of them. But maybe you've created a lot of waypoints over here and you don't want to go and left click on every single one of them. What you can do is left click on a waypoint. Okay, now hold down the Alt key and scroll with your mouse wheel. So now you see it's creating this blue circle. And as you can see, when I go bigger on the blue circle and lower, you see some of them are turning blue. That means those are selected. And if I left click now, it'll delete all of them. See, all of those that were selected are gone. And then I can just go hold down Alt, left click, just to get rid of those. And this one, and then again, maybe here, I can go left click, hold down the Alt, and use my mouse wheel to scroll up and down until I select all the points I want to delete, and then just left click, and they're gone. Alt, left click, Alt, left click, Alt, left click. Okay. So that's sort of the basis of forming, creating the different lanes just by clicking and using your allocated keys. Now, the next way that you can do this is by actually driving it. And this is probably the way that you're mostly going to create courses, because you're going to have roads like this on the side and sand roads like that. I mean, you're not going to go and click, 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 click all the way down this path. You're actually going to go drive it and actually create the path like that. So the way you do that, and the reason I just showed you that other way first is because I'm going to connect and disconnect lines and things like that now. So I didn't want to have to explain every single time I'm disconnecting and connecting lanes. I thought, let me get that out of the way first so that you understand how I'm doing it and how to do it for yourself. So what we're going to do is just move the vehicle a little bit forward here. The vehicle is now connected via this red line to that waypoint. So it is registering that it is connected to a lane that's on that waypoint. If you now wanted to create that primary one-way lane, this record button is how you're going to do it. And all you're going to do now is left click on the record. And as you can see, it's now turned red and it's giving you an arrow facing in one direction. And it has put a point just over there for me to show me, okay, it's ready to go. But as you can see, this point is not connected. So we can now left click and left click on that point, and now we're ready to go. And now all you need to do is drive forward, drive along the lane until you get to your next point. So let's say the road went around like this and all the way up and down. There's a path, and now we're trying to get to point number B, and we are almost at point number B. Now there is already a lane there, so I don't want to drive over the same lane twice to get to point B, because now I'm going to have a two-way lane and then a single lane going sort of over it. So I want to stop just before the next waypoint over here, and then just remember, switch off your record, because if you don't switch off record and you do things and then you drive away with the vehicle, it's going to carry on recording waypoints for you. So always remember, just left click on the record button, and now it is off. So you're not recording. If you drive away now, it's not going to continue. So again, what you're going to do here to connect up a primary route, you're just going to left click and then left click on that button. But this time, I'm not going to just left click. So what happens when you left click, you can see it's just going to cause a straight lane, like it's this straight node, straight to that point, right? But I don't want that to be so straight. I prefer it to be a little bit more curved. So I'm just going to move this one back again, as we spoke about earlier. Let's say to there. Now what you can do, I want to create maybe a more gentle curve over here. So you're going to left click, then hover over there. Don't left click yet. Now scroll your mouse button. And as you scroll, you can see it's now creating yourself a gentle curve. And you can pull this curve quite a little bit across. You see I've gone all the way max now to that side, and then obviously all the way max to the other side would be a straight lane, a straight line like that. There we go. Okay, so you just keep scrolling left and right until you find where you want it, and just keep your mouse cursor over the waypoint. And then when you're ready, you just left click. And now it's created that path and it's connected it. And it made it into a bit of a curve. So we're just going to turn around here quickly. We're going to create a two-way path back in the other direction. So to create the two-way path, all you're going to have to do is go above this record button, and now instead of left clicking, you're going to right click. So as you can see, it's given me this other color now, like purple, and it has given me the double arrows. So this is going to create this blue lane, which is a primary two-way path. And again, I want to connect it to the main lane. So I'm just going to hold down Control-Alt, left click, left click. And I could have done a curve there as well. I just went straight, but I could have curved that line as well as we did with the other one. And again, you're just going to drive until you get to wherever your destination is. You can go left, right, up, well, not up and down because you can't fly, but left and right, and just make your way all the way to where you want to be. So we want to get back to point A. And then when you get to point A again, just left click to deactivate the record button, and you can now connect this. Remember, again, we're trying to connect a two-way path, so Control-Alt, left click, and I can bend this one as well. You see I can create a bit of a bend here. It is quite close, so it's not going to give me the best bend, but then just left click again. And you can see I've got a little bit of a bend now, not just a straight line. So now I've created two pathways from point A to point B, two primary, a one-way and a two-way. So if I went from point A to point B, the vehicle could technically choose either the green primary route because it's a one-way in that direction, or it could choose the blue one because that's a two-way. It's got two ways to get there. What auto drive will do is it will choose the shortest path. So if it decides that the green route here is the shorter one, it'll go that way. If it decides the blue one is shorter, it'll go that way. So I'm just going to then quickly turn around here, and we're now going to create the secondary paths. So as I said, there are 4 lanes you can create going forward. So if you want to create a secondary path, now remember, primary one way, left click. Secondary one way, you just hold down shift and left click. And as you can see, it's given me the one-way arrow again, and it's given me this color, which I think they say is orange in the write-ups, but yeah, it looks very yellow, but we'll say it's orange. And you see it's given me the points again, so I can just go left click to connect that, and you see it's already done it as a secondary path because I'm connecting to a secondary, and I can just drive the path. And say I decide, okay, I'm going to go up here, this is my secondary path here, get to the end, and then again you just left click, and then you see how it's going over that one, and I might say, okay, I want it to go more into the middle of here, so that's where you just jog your wheel till you get that curve nicely like that, and left click, and now it's created sort of a path going in the middle over there. And then just remember left click to switch off the record. And then we're going to create the last one, which is a secondary two-way path. So a primary two-way path was right click. A secondary two-way path is just hold down shift and right click. And as you can see, it's created this what they call brown and a two-way path. And again, you can just hold down Control-Alt, left click, and you see it's created a secondary two-way lane. And again, just drive your path whichever way it goes until you get to your destination. And then when you get to your destination again, just Control-Alt, left click, and then just hold it above, and I want to curve this one a little bit. So you see, and it's giving me sort of an S curve now, which is fine. And there I've got that path. So yeah, they did get a bit complicated over there. That's fine. Okay, and then just remember left click to switch off. So let's do these paths. So as I said earlier, auto drive will always take the shortest route to a destination, but it will take the shortest route that is a primary route. So these in the middle now, and as you can see, these two routes in the middle, the two secondaries, are definitely shorter from point A to point B than going on any of these primary routes. But if I now hit go to point B, now I've selected point B here, and I hit the on button to go, you can see it's picked the green route. So it's saying between the two primary routes, the green one and the blue one at the bottom, this green one is my shortest distance. But if you see, the two secondary routes are definitely shorter, but it won't pick them because they are secondary routes. So it is always going to pick a primary route first. So similarly on this side, if I now want to get back to point A, just turn around here quickly. Now getting back to point A, there are two routes, two possibilities for it to take, because obviously it can't come on any of these two because they are one-way tracks. It can only go back on the two the secondary or the primary. But again, as I said, it will pick the shortest as long as it's a primary route. So if I go blue A and I select that, it's now going to pick the blue primary route. It won't pick the blue secondary route. So while it's driving over that side, AutoDrive will pick a secondary route if there is no primary route available. So even if you create a secondary route and there is no primary route to a destination, AutoDrive will pick that route. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the primary routes here. So just for interest sake, just to show you firstly the shortest route scenario. So as you saw, it said when we said go to point B, it picked the green route because it said that's the shorter route, right? If I break, so I'm going to disconnect. So now there's a break there. That route doesn't connect. So now AutoDrive is still going to look for the shortest route that's a primary route. And if I click play here now, why is it not going? Oh wait, sorry, I forgot to select point B. Sorry, it's already saying, "Hey, I'm already at point A. I can't go to point A. I'm already there." So because I've now, this is the shorter route, but it doesn't exist now because of that. If I now press there, can you see? He wants to go down, and I'm not going to let him go the whole way. But you see, he's now picked the next best option for himself. So he's now going to go down the blue route because that is a primary route as well. If I now break that primary route as well, so let's say you want to get from point A to point B, and you select, and there's no primary route available to get to that point, it will take a secondary route. So as you can see, as I selected, it still went, but now it's taking the secondary route. So just be aware of that. You might create a secondary route and not want some vehicles to go on there, but if you don't have an alternate route for the other vehicles to get there, they will go down that secondary route. So one thing, I'm just going to go back again, sorry, just to show you something else. So if you saw now, it went down the two-way lane. So it was saying out of the two secondary routes, the two-way lane is the shortest route. And I think, yeah, you can see it because the one-way lane, this one on this side, on the left, is a little bit longer than this one. But this is now, again, where labels come into play as well. So one thing you have to always take into account, if there is a label, and what we're going to do is create a label. So I'm connected to that point. You just connect this waypoint with a plus on it. If you click on that, then we're just going to say, call this blue C. So now we have a waypoint on that line. So from the previous example, this secondary point, if there are no primary routes available, that secondary route, the two-way lane, sorry, with the blue C on it, is the shortest route. So that is the way it went the first time. But now there's a label on there. So if I now again go press play, can you see it takes the other path? So that is another consideration. Whenever you are doing pathways, Courseplay will pick the shortest route if there is no label on it. So when none of these secondary routes had a label on, it picked the shortest one. But when one of them now has a label, it's going to pick the other one without the label. And again, if I now put a label onto this track, so we can now go to add in blue D. Okay, so now both paths have labels on. So when AutoDrive is considering this, it's going, okay, no primary routes are available to get to point B. So there are secondary routes available to get to point B. There are two secondary routes available to get to point B. Both of these secondary routes now have labels. So all things are equal on these two tracks in a way of way of excluding tracks. So everything's equal now. So it then goes back to its default of saying shortest route. So again, now if I press play, it'll take the shortest route. So I hope I'm making clear like what actually happens with its sort of selection process. And this will, I think, apply as well to primary routes. So let's just have a look. So I'm going to reconnect the primary route on that side, and I'm going to reconnect the primary route on that side. So now, if I had to press go now, it's going to pick a primary route. It will not pick the secondary routes. And it's going to pick the shortest, which we saw the last time was the green route. If I now go onto this green route, and let's say we create a point over here, and we're going to call this route E now, right? Okay, so now when it's evaluating how to get to point B, it says, okay, there are 2 primary routes available for me to use, but one of those primary routes has a label. And can you see? It then picked the longer of the 2 primary routes. So just be aware that labels have an effect on a route. If I had to now go and put a label onto the 2-way route on this side, it would then treat them as equal and it will default to the shortest route. So I hope this explains how to create all these different lanes and all the different points and how things are evaluated when going down tracks. So what I'm going to do now is jump into another vehicle. So yeah, I'm on the farm now. So just to show you, because that was very much a test sort of track area, this is showing you how it applies to an actual farm. So when I'm just driving around on the farm and actually looking at the tracks and things like that, I don't like them to be like this above the tractor because it does get a little bit in the way. So the way I like it is I definitely rather have it now, unless I'm creating lanes like we were doing there. I like it above, but if I'm just driving around, below for me is better. You see, it just looks a bit neater, especially when you've got a lot of tracks going through everywhere, and it's just a little bit easier to manage and click and move around waypoints and things like that. So we're just going to drive a little bit forward just so I can explain what's going on this side here. So as you can see on this side, I have a lot of garages on this side and a lot of lanes going through these garages. So if I had a primary route like this one at the back here, coming along the back here, and I wanted to send that vehicle to this point A in the front here. If all these lanes going through the garages were green, it would recognize all of them as primary routes, and it would say, okay, they're all primary routes. I can just pick whichever one is the shortest to get to point A. But I don't want vehicles trying to drive through these garages where I've got implements parked, because then obviously they stop behind the implement and then they get stuck there. So what I've done here quickly is just I've left one of these routes, so you can see this green route here going through the garage is a primary, and I'm just going to pull the tractor a little bit back here to show you I want this tractor to go to that point A. So I'm going to switch on, and if you see which one it's going to select now, it's going to drive through the garage because it's saying that's a primary route. It is the quickest way for me to get to point A. So that's why any garages and parkings and things like that, you want to change them to secondary routes. So again, as I said before, just going to reverse here a little bit and then activate the mouse, and then we just hold down shift and you can just click on all your points. And as you can see, it's now, okay, you see there's some points over there. You can just click, just sort of reverse through this garage again just to get to the other side. Obviously, yeah, if you've got garage, it's always a little bit more difficult. Just make sure you get all the points underneath the garage over there as well. And then if I just hold down shift, left click, just keep holding down left shift and left clicking, and you can easily change a path into a secondary. So now you can see that's a secondary path going through there. So we're going to do the same thing because I have a road just over here that goes in between the garages that I would like them to use if they're coming around the back here and they're trying to get to the front. Definitely rather want them to use that route than going through an actual garage. I'm going to reverse the vehicle back here again quickly, and then hit the on button, or go button or play button, whichever one you want to call it. And as you can see now, he's gone past that route. He's not picking that route anymore because he's saying, no, that's a secondary route. If my destination is not on that secondary route, I won't pick it. And he's come all the way to the primary route over here, and he's going to make his way to point A. So one thing I wanted you to notice over there as well is around speed control. So if you look at the current way that primary route is set up, it's quite angular. If you compare it to maybe some of these routes over here, they're quite curved like that. So the angular routes control the speed. The sharper the bend, the slower the vehicle will go around it. The more sort of curved the bend is, the faster they'll go around it, or the more to their normal speed they'll go around it. This is to help you with, you might have, like sometimes in the map, you might have like a downhill or a very sharp corner or something like that. And if you curve that pathway nicely around those bends, maybe you've got like these S bends coming down a mountain, right? The vehicle will try to go as fast as it possibly can along those paths because there's nothing telling it to slow down. And it could be a truck, it could lose control. I mean, especially when it rains, it could get quite slippery. So what you do then is you sharpen the bends. So let's say, for instance sake, like we did here now, if I press play, you can see he's actually going pretty slow. Look at him, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8. Can you see 7, 4, 4, 5, 3? Going very slow around the corner, as you can see. Okay. So I'm saying, look, there's a lot of space here to turn. There's no real issue for you to go a little bit faster around that corner. So I can then left click, remove that point over there. I can create myself a new point from maybe say back here. So again, left click here and then hover over that one, use my scroll wheel till I get the curve nice, and then left click. And now I've got a nice bend in there. And now if I reverse him again and I hit play, you'll see he'll go around that curve a lot quicker than he was just now. You see, if you look at his speed now, 20, 26, 27, 26, 27. See, compared to like that 4, 5, 6 that he was doing before. And again, you can see now there's quite a sharp bend in front of him again, and you see how much he's slowing down again before he gets to that point. So that's just how corners control the left click. I mean, corners are controlled around speed. The sharpness of the actual corner is controlling the speed of the vehicle. Okay, losing my words over here. And then let's get off to the last vehicle over here. So on this side over here, you can see I've got quite a lot of pathways going through. I've got some one-way lanes. I've got equipment, garages, workshop. So quite a busy area over this side. So I'm just going to drive down here to point A to demonstrate again the sort of the primary, secondary routes over here, and then we'll do a reverse parking. So if I now want him to go to point B, I select point B, and he's picking the way that he's going to go. Now, this is a two-way lane because I sometimes have vehicles coming down, and sometimes I've got vehicles going up. And as you can see, he's picking the shortest route. Now, the shortest route is through my workshop. Now, I don't want the guys going through the workshop every single time they want to go up and down this. I want them to use this other route on this side. So again, as we did with the other one, all you're going to do is you're going to hold down shift, left click, and you see because this is a two-way, it is going to make it into a two-way secondary automatically. So you just hold down shift, left click, and then as you can see there are 2 points here quite close to each other. So sometimes it depends what you collect. I can easily, if I accidentally select that one again, right? All you have to do is make sure that the one you're selecting is the one that goes blue. So sometimes you see it's not even, my cursor doesn't even go on top of it. So just be careful and then just hold down and shift. Now I can go and change the other one, just coming from the other side until that one changes blue, and then left click. And then you just go along. Some points are a lot easier to do. And there we go. And I want all of these now like that. So these are primary routes this side, and this is a secondary route going that way. And then these ones that are white like this, those are intersections. So if I just go back there again quickly, and we'll change the other side also of this garage to a secondary. So now it's a secondary two-way lane, which at least means that vehicles can still come in and out of this two-way lane of this workshop from both sides. So I can have vehicles entering this workshop from the top there or from the bottom here, whichever way I'm sending them from. But now if I go back to point A again and I tell him to go to point B, he should actually go around the workshop now, because he's going to say that's a secondary route. I'm not allowed to drive on a secondary route unless I have no other choice. And you see now they're going to use this road to get around, which is the way I want them to get around to point B. Okay. So then I think the last thing on this side is to create this reverse path. So what I'm going to do quickly is we want to create a reverse path into this open garage over here. Maybe you've got an implement that you want to park there. So I'm going to pick up one of these stone pickers over here, and we're going to create a parking in that garage in reverse so that the vehicle can drop off the implement when done, and you can just disconnect it and go and park the vehicle. So I'm going to say the best way for us to get in there is to come from this path over here. So I'm just going to turn around here, and this is a two-way. So we're going to come from this side. And the reason I'm coming from this side is because you want to get the implement as straight as possible, aligned with the garage, before you start reversing, so that it just helps the AI get it a little bit better. So this is what I would call the old way of doing it. I'm just going to show you both ways. What you're going to do here again is you're going to hit record. And as I said, when recording, best to set it to above tractor rather. It is a little bit easier when you are recording. You see now, because before I couldn't see this point over here, it was under the tractor. Now it's above the tractor, right? So I'm going to say, okay, if this guy comes from down there, I want him to drive up like this, and I need him to sort of angle like this, and then sort of turn and align himself up nicely with the garage. There we go. And I've sort of got him now aligned, and now I'm going to start reversing. And as I said, you are reversing, not my best skill. So I love the fact that I don't have to always be doing this when I'm doing these reverse parkings anymore. So this, as I said, is the old way. It does take a little bit. You just always got to make sure you see, and look, I'm like going left and right and everything here. But I'm going to get it eventually into this garage. Okay, let's just say that's the way we would have done it in the past. And then we would drive out forward again and connect it to the roads. But a better way to do this part now is rather, just going to switch off record here quickly, and I'm going to delete these reverse paths that we created, because they can get a little bit messy, a little back and forward as you're doing it. Let's just delete this one. Okay. So what you can do is create the forward path, sort of as I did. Sorry, let me just stop my tractor over here. So you drive it in and get your vehicle straight, like I did up until about here. And then I would always say, just give your tractor as much room as possible for him to align, because the AI might come in a little bit weirder and not do it exactly the same way. So you're just going to then right click on this path over here and just maybe drag it a bit forward. So now he's just got that little bit of extra space, because the tractor will, when he hits this point, he's going to start reversing. Now again, as we did before, we're going to create our points. So you just press Control and then create some points for yourself. So I'm going to create one there. Okay, is this going to connect? Yeah, it keeps connecting. Doesn't matter. Okay, we're just going to delete these paths in between. Okay, I'll just create a couple closer to each other, seeing as how it's connecting anyway. Okay. So just delete here, just so we have some free waypoints hanging about. And now what I can do is move all these points into a reverse path that I want to see. So I'm going to say, okay, let's put one over there. Let's put another one over there. Let's bring this one. Now I don't have to do that whole reversing thing. I'm skipping that second part, and I'm creating my own reverse path. Now you can drive it if you feel like it. Sometimes it's not too difficult, but sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get the reverse path exactly. So like this, you can just create the path all by yourself. So I can go and put that over there, all the way down there. You see, because now I can line them up nicely in the middle of the garage, in the middle of the path. I can make sure that this whole reverse path is done quite nicely so that the AI can do it as easily as possible. See, and selecting the wrong path. So remember, always the one that's the blue, like that. Okay, let's just see. Let's put that one over there. Okay, so now I've got all these points. And again, as we created the reverse path in the other, you left click and then right shift, left click, hold down the right shift. So left click, hold down the right shift, left click, left click, hold down right shift, left click. And do the same all the way into your garage. So now there's as you can see, there's a forward path coming to here, and there's a reverse path going there. And I can now just sort of go, okay, this one looks a bit weird, so let's just do it about there, and let's just line this up. Let's get this path a little bit neater, so you can just move it around until you think, okay, that looks a bit neat. That doesn't look too bad. And it is now, okay, there's one more path there that we just want to go quickly and allocate. So I'm just going to disconnect quickly, yeah? Okay, we're going to just zoom in a little bit because I'm going to create this last path over here. So again, just left click, hold down right shift, left click. And then we need to create the parking spot over here inside this garage. So when you've got it connected like this with the red line from the tractor, it means you can now label that point. Always has to be connected to the point that you want to label. You click the waypoint label over here, and we're just going to say park, whatever, just park R, and say okay. So now you can see we've created a target point called park R. And if we reverse here and go out, let's pick up our stone here again. Take him down that path, which way I think he should come. Am I going to make it? No, I'm not going to make it. Okay. Excuse the driving skills here today. I don't know what's obviously been drinking a little bit last night. Can't turn corners. Let's go a little bit wider. Always happens when you're recording the video. Then all the problems will happen, and then I'm driving all skew going into buildings driving. So, it always happens. Okay, so we're going to send him from here as he goes. So we're just going to select that parking spot quickly, which was park R over here, and say go. And you can see he's found the path. So if there was something not connected over there, obviously the error message would come up. And you see he's going to drive that green path that I sort of drove, and then he will get to the end trigger point over here, and he will start to reverse. So that's why I said rather give them as much space as possible here, because you see he'll come all the way, tap, and then now the reverse path has been activated. So he's going to follow that reverse path all the way into the garage. So that's how you can create a reversing path in two ways. Reverse it yourself, or just create the path manually. The other thing that you have to remember now is, if you want him to get out of here, you need to create a path going forward. Because if I now say, okay, I've connected him up, and I want to send him to, this is red, let's say point B, and I try to go, it says can't reach, because there is no path coming forward where he is currently. So this is a simpler one to create, because you're just going to create one of these one-way forward paths and connect it to any one of your main paths. So you can just zoom in here a little bit, and then let's just say we're going to create, just hold down Control, click, and just zoom up a little bit here. Okay, let's just connect on this side. Went back there. This went back there. And then we're just gonna left click, left click, left click, left click. So now you see I'm creating a path going forward. And I want to create a path going forward all the way to one of my main lanes. So this dark blue two-way lane over here is where he would want to exit, either up or down, or up only or down only, whichever you want. So you can just go over here and go, hold down Control, and just keep clicking, clicking, clicking. Okay, didn't connect that one, so just left click, left click. And then I say, okay, when he gets over here, I'm just going to say click there and scroll my mouse button and connect to that path. Or I can go this side and click from here to that point, scroll the mouse button, and create a nice round path. Now, he reversed in, and now if I ask him to go to point B, he has an exit. So just remember, you always need to create the forward path to line him up for the reverse. Then create that reversing path. Always give him as much space over here in the front to line up that piece of equipment as straight as possible. Because you can come in at an angle a bit and they will bend it around. It just makes it a little bit more difficult and more prone to mistakes. And then just always remember to create the exit path again. So from the last reversing path, which should be your parking trigger, all the way back out to the main lanes. Then, oh, what did I do there? I went into the vehicle, sorry. I'm just going to drop off my stone picker here quickly and just show you another reversing path. So maybe, and you can do this exactly the same way. So let's say I wanted a vehicle, this tractor, its park is over there. As you can see, park vent red. He goes and parks in that garage, and he always parks in forward. And then every single time when I need him, I need to reverse him out of the garage and send him where I want. Now I don't want to reverse him anymore outside of those garages. I just want him to come right back out and go where I need him to go. So again, same thing. You just create yourself some waypoints. So you're just gonna left click, okay. Sometimes it wants to create, okay, just click. Aha, I've just learned something myself now as well as I'm talking to you. So if you hold down the control and just click, it's gonna create, it's gonna try to connect. But if you press control, left click, let go of left control, and then press left control again and left click, see it doesn't try to connect them. So now I've created myself a whole bunch of points. So as I said again, don't keep holding down the control unless you want to connect the parts. If you want to create individual points, press left control, left click, let go of left control, and then press left control again, left click, and it gives me individual points. We learn together. Okay, then all we want to do is just move all these points again. So, and again, you see, unless I'm driving, I prefer to have it done. You see, it's to me, it's a little bit more difficult to do this way, only when I'm driving. So I'm going to drop these to ground level. Just activate again. Now you see all those little dots are just on the floor. I think that's a lot easier for me to work, and also to access that waypoint over there, if you can see. So I'm just gonna right click on all these waypoints and move them as best as I think a reverse path would be. Okay, now my vehicle's in the way. Just quickly move them out of the way, and then we're just gonna right click again, and as I just sort of maybe along the same path maybe that you had them before, like that. Take them all the way to about there. Okay. So when he goes into park, he's going to come along this secondary path in there, and then I want him to reverse along this path and then connect to the main road. So I'm going to again left click and hold down the right shift and left click, and you can see it's created that light blue path. I don't know if you can see that. That is a little bit far. I'll go a little bit forward. As you can see, there we go. It's created the blue path. Just going to come a little bit back here. Okay, and then we can do the same thing again. Left click, hold down right shift, left click, and just do the same thing over and over. So now I have created, it's got a forward path and he's got a reverse path, and I can say okay. But remember, he's going to reverse, but he can't reverse and then go down that backwards, right? Because this is a forward lane. So I'm going to say, okay, reverse there and then connect to that path. So from this endpoint, because he'll reverse all the way until he touches this endpoint here on the reverse path. And then just left click, and it's now connected him onto that path. And we can just delete this one. So again, Alt, left click, and it's done. So now, if I go down here, and that is his parking spot. So because it's allocated to him, you can see the parking icon here is highlighted, and if I hover over it, it says park vent red, and if I left click on it, it sends him to his parking space. So he's going to drive up the secondary lane over there till he touches the target point. And now if I want to send him somewhere, so let me say if I want to send him now to that point B, I just select and activate. And you can see he's now driving down the blue path. So now he's reversing out the parking himself. I don't have to do it for him. And he's going to get to that trigger point and he's going to turn and get onto the main lane. So that is all the lanes. A lot of lanes, a lot of information. I hope maybe I shared something that you didn't know before and showed you something about how maybe to activate your farms. I think there is just one more thing I'm going to show you. It's like one of those infomercials, and we've got one more surprise for you. Let me just jump into these vehicles. So I want to show you the purpose of a one-way lane. So one-way lanes, because even on our mega farm here, we do have a lot of roads that are quite narrow. Well, and not narrow, but you can't fit 2 lanes on this path. So vehicles going in both directions have to be able to use this lane over here. And our biogas plant is very busy because we also have a milk farm over that side that you have to access through the biogas plant. So often I have a sugar beet trailer coming in here, silage trailer coming in here, slurry trailer coming in here, the food trailer coming in here, the milk truck coming through here, and also the grain bins over here. So I've got trucks turning in and out of here all the time. So that's where it's better to use the one-way lane. So as you can see, this whole intersection is one-way lanes. The lane going all the way down here is one-way lanes. And I'll show you from the class's perspective on the other side there quickly as well. Just want to line this vehicle up here just to show you what will happen if 2 vehicles, so this is just how a one-way lane helps you if 2 vehicles are going to use that lane at the same time. They're gonna use it independently or they're gonna wait for each other until the other vehicle is finished. I'm just gonna line them up here quickly and then jump into the class. So as you can see, as I said also, if you look at it coming through this way, it's a one-way there and a one-way there. So whoever activates onto this one-way lane going all the way through out that road will always be the one that has the right of way. So let me jump back into the 7R. So I'm going to tell the 7R to go to the biogas beats and it's going to drive along here and access that. And then I'm going to activate the class to come out and show you how he will wait until this vehicle actually gets through. Just want to jump there quickly, make sure I've got the right thing. So I'm just going to select cow slurry here and then go back into the 7R. Okay, so if I hit now, he's going to start driving to that area. I'm going to jump in the class and I'm going to tell the class to go as well. So for all intents and purposes, they're both headed to the same one-way lane. So if this wasn't a one-way lane, or well, I suppose maybe there's not much you could do with it besides a one-way, but as you can see, the class has stopped. I haven't done anything to him. He's still powered on over here, and you can see he's waited for the 7R to come through. Once the 7R comes through, he then goes onward on down that lane. Just stop him over here. And the same thing would have happened with the 7R as well. Had I sent the class through first, and then only activated the 7R, the 7R actually waits on the main road until the class goes right through, right past to the cow barn, and then the 7R only turns in over here. So that's how the one-way lanes actually work to help you control traffic a little bit. So I think that's all for this video. Like I said, I hope I showed you something, or maybe you learned something from this on how to manage auto drive lanes. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.